one is A for ask. Don't be afraid. Always ask for help if you need it. If in doubt, ask. No one would look down on you for asking. Where the issue would be is if you don't know, and you know you don't know, and you actually go on to act like you know, that's not good. That is not acceptable. It is not professional. As part of our responsibilities as doctors, we need to be able to show we're fit to practice within our own competence. And if you're not competent in a certain thing, if you're not confident in a certain thing, you need to ask. Okay? I'd rather you ask than suffer in silence. Okay? And it's not just even about you suffering, it's about what we're delivering to our patients. That means they won't be getting the optimum, care in that moment. So I want you to ask. And in line with asking is communicating. I need you to communicate. When I'm thinking about communication, I'm thinking about communication with the patient, for example. When you're explaining things to them, even before you explain, this campaign about hello, my name is da da da. It's an important thing, and I need you to imbibe that. Get used to it. Keep practicing. Get used to it. Hello, my name is da 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 da. There's a whole campaign around that. That was set up a few years ago, and it's something we've all been encouraged to try and get into our practice. Hello, my name is Dr. Da 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 da, and I'm da 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 da, and then you continue your conversation that way. Let the patient know who you are. But also, even with your patients, avoid medical jargon, please. Keep things simple. And if you're not quite sure how to explain certain things, there's the NHS A to Z guide that would walk you through how to explain certain conditions. So you can work with some of them and actually get used to pick some certain ones you would use on your wards, and then practice with them till it becomes, it just comes and flows naturally without sounding scripted, but at the same time it will be simple enough for your patients to connect with. And as part of communication, also communicating with your members of team, letting them know, about updates and things that are happening with your patients live, and also communicating with your nurses as well, really. So communication is essential. And then you also need to think about communicating with the patient's family members if needed, of course, within that particular setting. And that takes us nicely to the next one, T. T is for team. I think my foundation years were amazing because of some amazing doctors, and I think for me, my F1 year still stands out, really. I genuinely believe the connections I made were beautiful. I think we worked well as a team, actually, and not just the core team, the other foundation doctors as well. I think it was beautiful. It was beautiful getting to go for meals with them as well. I think we had a lovely time. It felt really good that they actually thought I was there for longer than I actually was. So I started, but that's a whole different story. I started in January, but doctors tend to rotate into their new years in August, typically. There's some different circumstances, but typically August of the year before. So, but with the way we worked beautifully as a team, it almost felt like, literally there was an argument in the office one day. They were like, no, Toyosi, you've been here since August. I'm like, no. But because we're able to work well together as a team, that made a huge difference. You get to find out, in being blunt with you, you get to find out that, oh, there are certain members of your team that like certain procedures, doing certain things. Sometimes it might be best to work together to everyone's strengths, especially when the workload is a lot, and then you guys work as a team, divide up the roles, divide up the jobs that need to be done, and work efficiently, to make sure you all leave together, as in leave on time. If someone stays over, we'll typically try and work hard to make sure the person, gets that time back as well. But it was a team thing, really. And I think that is something you'd want to make sure you imbibe and actually introduce into your team. A team culture, focusing on making sure you guys are able to bond as a team and actually grow and learn as a team. Also, your nurses. Thinking about your teams, your nurses are important as a team. So your nurses are valuable, especially when it comes to bloods, cannulas, and other things, of course. But sometimes in the early years, people sometimes struggle with that. But they're really experienced in letting you know the procedures, how things are done, So that is something you'd want to make sure, you value and actually let them know you value them. So make sure you work well with your nurses. And beyond the nurses, you've got the wider team, really. So you've got your physician associates, you've got your physiotherapist, occupational therapist, you've got your ward clerks, you've got your healthcare assistants. You've got quite a range of team members, really, that you need to be able to work well with and delegate to as well, really, and learn from them as well. There are some things I learned quite a lot from other members of the team. So you need to be humble enough. That's the other thing. You need to be humble enough to learn, and your early years will be beautiful, really, if you're humble enough to learn. I for me is initiative. You need to be able to work on your own initiative as well as, as a team, but I think it's also important to stress that you are a doctor. You're not an admin assistant that's just there to write in the notes. You are a doctor. If there's something that doesn't seem right, that you're not comfortable with, you need to follow that through, as in whether it's medical, do you need a second opinion from another doctor, or you need to follow that through. Don't just say, the consultant said we should discharge, and then let's discharge. And there was a case about that, really, from one of my mentees. Again, she's heard me talk about, the fact that you are a doctor at the end of the day. You've got your GMC number, okay? So the consultant has said, let's discharge. This patient, as well as having medical issues, must have had some injury to their foot. The junior doctor assumed the consultant had seen the x-ray of the foot, and the consultant actually mentioned it in passing that, x-ray is fine, that's fine, send home. But this junior doctor looked at the x-ray and saw that it looked like he had a fracture on there. But this consultant had already said, discharge. Tough situation, right? Well, she took the initiative to go and speak to, consultants from, I believe it was an A&E consultant, to just have a second opinion and just look at the x-ray. And then he also confirmed there is a fracture on there. And guess what? Instead of discharging the patient immediately, then the patient was actually put through to the right department to help support, in terms of sorting out the fracture and all of that. So my point is, in as much as, yes, she is a junior doctor, she was in her first year of working post-graduation, but you have every right to be able to professionally review things and have a professional discussion, really. If the second consultant has said, there's nothing there, then you document that you've spoken to the consultant, you've spoken to the other consultant, and they've said they're fine for the patient to be discharged. So the point really is, I want you to work on your own initiative as well. You're not just there, you're not an admin assistant, you are a doctor, and you need to remind yourself about that, okay? Let's talk about the outfit, what you're wearing to work. And where do I start? For those of you that are not fully based in the UK, doctors don't do lab coats to work. But for everyone, I think for me, it's important you think about what you're comfortable with. So for most people, it'll be scrubs, which is nice. You want to have comfortable shoes as well, okay? And if you choose to wear normal, like your clothes from home, that is also fine. I'd say avoid jeans or ripped jeans. There's some pairs of jeans that you could just about get away with them, especially if it's black. I wouldn't necessarily go with the blue ones, but black, but it's not too obvious that it's jeans, and like the way you dress it up is not overly casual, you know, like you're going out for a drink or something. Yeah, I'd say definitely avoid ripped jeans while at work. Be comfortable, bare below the elbow, i.e. no wristwatches, nothing below the elbow. All right, so you need to leave it bare. For those of you that have got ties, which is good, you need to either take off the ties or actually tuck it in as well, so you don't want anything dangling. And this is all from an infection control perspective, really. If you've got, doesn't mean you should go and buy short sleeves, okay? If you've got long sleeves, roll that up, roll it up, and that's why you see a lot of people rolling them up. If you don't, people would most likely remind you in nice ways to definitely get that done. And for some people as well, pockets are so important for me anyway. I just love the idea of, you know, having, whether it's my dress, you know, or my trousers or skirts, whichever one, I love the idea of having pockets, really. We're nearly there. N is for never stop learning. Never stop learning. Okay, and this goes in various ways. So for example, referrals, you need to do referrals to gastroenterologist, cardiologist, and the radiologist, which tends to be interesting but a huge learning experience. In doing these referrals, you learn how to present the cases. You also get to learn, about seeing things from a different viewpoint. Okay, and in terms of negotiating as well, sometimes you need to negotiate and confidently defend why that investigation, why that review is needed right then. So the more you do a lot of this, the more you're actually learning. Okay, and it's more of a passive kind of learning, but it actually goes a long way. All right, and you become more confident really when it comes to handling such cases. So never stop learning. If it means going to conferences as well, there are loads of conferences out there. If you want to even check RSM, Royal Society of Medicine, I'll pop on some useful places in terms of colleges, that would allow you, regardless of where you are at your current stage, for you to engage with them, either present a poster, present in terms of actually doing an oral presentation at these conferences, or just attending them. Really, these are things that will be good for your career portfolio, which I am passionate about. So never stop learning.